All right, so welcome to today's training, guys. Today is about getting your first or your next chatbot client. We're going to talk about what to do before, during, and after your sales pitch. And what we're going to focus on is learning the steps that you need to take to land the client, right? We'll kind of break it down into 3 sections. We'll talk about, what you need to do and how you can package your chatbot and everything that you want to include in your chatbot. We'll talk about how to price and package your chatbot, and then we'll also talk about how to actually find leads and prospects as well. So I'm curious for you guys, let me know what you guys are, and most of you guys are like a digital marketer, or you're an agency owner, you have an agency or a freelancer, but that's really who this training is for, and really anybody who wants to be able to get more clients by online, right, or wants to offer some sort of service, any type of service really, and wants to get more clients. That's really what this training is for. So if you guys could just share with me in the chat, I ask for these questions because I'll share in a little bit. I've been fortunate to build bots in lots of different industries, but I really want to make this training relevant for you. And so if you guys have a lot of these questions answered, then it makes the training a lot more relevant. So I'd love to know if you're an agency owner, and more importantly, on a scale of 1 to 3, where are you at? Are you at a 1 where you're just getting started, you're looking to get your first client, or this is something that you're just kind of thinking about, or you're just getting going? Are you a 2, right, where you would say that you've kind of already got your first couple of clients, you've already got your groove a little bit, and now you're looking to scale? Or would you say that you're a 3, where your organization is already pumping, and now you're really looking for ways to optimize, grow, and really scale it to the next level? Let me know, 1, 2, or 3. You guys, and let me know, can you guys hear me? Looks like Jesse can hear me. Okay, so let me know 1, 2, or 3, because that will change some of these, some of the trainings as well. And it looks like Gio has fixed his audio so you guys can hear me. So looks like we got some a 1, a 2. Let me know if you guys are just getting started. Drop a 1. If you guys are kind of already going a little bit but really looking to grow, drop a 2. Or if you guys are already established and really looking to scale to the next level, let me know a 3, because that will make it a little easier for the training. All right, some 1s and 2s. Okay, cool. So let's talk about this, and this is, some of you guys have seen this kind of imagery here, and I remember when I first got into digital marketing, it was really, really challenging, because one of the first things that I got into was Facebook ads, and that I wanted to get into, right? And I said that I was going to run Facebook ads, but when I started to try and get clients, or when I went out there and started prospecting, I realized that there were a ton of other Facebook ads people out there. There was a ton of other agencies. There's a ton of other people who had a lot of experience. And the kind of the unfortunate side is that there was a ton of people, a ton of businesses who kind of had this negative image of Facebook ads and said like, oh, Facebook ads don't work, right? And so I had to really battle this uphill, challenge of getting through to businesses to actually even give me a try. And I realized that I was just in a red ocean, right? It was really in kind of what we call a bloody market, essentially, where for years people have been running Facebook ads. For years people have been building websites and offering Google, ads, and even offering funnels now. Like, that's a very crowded territory. And so I remember listening to this podcast one time, and they were talking about messenger ads, and they were talking about chatbots, and I was really bombing with a campaign that I was running for one of my clients. And I just said, well, why don't we just try this chatbot thing? We got nothing to lose. Our campaign is already sucking. We got to try something. And within the next 2 weeks, we went from having negative ad spend and just blowing 2 weeks of ad spend to, over the next 2 weeks, not only did we catch up, but we were actually able to 10x their entire ad spend, and we were able to launch their gym, and it was a really, really cool thing. And so what I saw there was like, oh my goodness, there was these incredibly affordable, I don't like to call them cheap because they're not cheap, but this incredibly affordable way to subscribe people, right? I didn't need a landing page, and people were able to go directly into my chatbot. I was having these incredible click-through rates, and open rates were just off the charts, where people were reading my messages, where my emails were barely even getting through the spam filter, right? And so there was all of this like really cool stuff that I realized. And so I said, why don't I just why don't I keep pursuing this? And what I learned was that chatbots was really this thing that was a wide open blue ocean. And a lot of people might think that it's really crowded now, but as I am kind of just continuing to be in the market, I realize that there is so much more and more opportunity for people who offer and sell and develop chatbots. And the reason is like, if you think about it, 10 years ago, every single business needed a website, right? So WordPress designers were hot and hot and hot, and it was like everybody needed a website. And so all these people jumped into WordPress and became WordPress designers. But then everybody became, social media became a thing, and about 5 years ago, everybody needed social media presence, right? And so everybody started having social media managers. And then that's how this Facebook ads things came about. Well, in a few years, every single business is going to need messenger automation, right? And what's really, really cool is like, it's not going away. So I was doing some research here. And so obviously Messenger just cracked the 1 billion person mark, right? Which means that over, throughout the world in almost every country, over 1 billion people are using Messenger. And they're continuing to pour money into it and create new features and new developments of all of this stuff, right? What I think is probably an even crazier stat is that 1 billion messages are sent between people and businesses every single month. So if you think about that, this is something that is already happening. And if you can position yourself as someone who is an expert or someone who is a provider in this field, well, all of a sudden it's going to make it so much easier for you to go out there and get clients, frankly, right? Because you are the expert. And so what's really, really cool too is to see that Facebook Messenger is really not even, this is the Google Play Store, right? But Facebook Messenger is not even the top messaging app. And Facebook, who also owns WhatsApp, is going to be opening that as a chatbot platform. So what I'm sharing with you is that this is not like a fad. This is not something that's going away, and it's something that's only going to be continuing to build through Messenger, through voice, through AR, through VR. All of that is going to include chatbots. And so those are all going to be built by somebody. And I know that businesses are not going to be the ones doing it. They can't even figure out posting on social media. How do you think that they're going to be able to build complex or even not, just basic bots? And so over that time, continue to work in, just providing chatbots and building bots. And so over that time, I've been able to work with real estate agents in the medical space in a variety of different spaces, chiropractor, those kinds of things, medical spas. We've worked with fitness gyms, personal trainers. We work with best-selling authors, musicians, speakers, like the home services industry, roofing, plumbing. We've done e-com. We've sold info products with it. We've done affiliate marketing, and we've even done nonprofit fundraising, all with chatbots, right? And so it's really something when people go, well, what industry is great, are chatbots great for? The answer is whatever one you can sell it to, because there we're going to talk about all of the different like what we call the universal bot system, right? Which is basically just like everything that every bot like absolutely needs. And I've broken it down to really 3 core areas. And so the great thing is that every industry could and should and will be using chatbots in the very near future. So here's what we're going to cover today, okay? These 3 things. We're going to talk about, number 1, well, we're going to kind of go in this backwards. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is what to sell, right? I mentioned that universal bot structure. We're going to talk about what that universal bot structure is and how you can apply it to the niche in the industry that you eventually pick. We'll talk about the staircase method, right? And what to charge. We'll talk about the 2 ways to do it, which is the staircase method and the 10X method, because a lot of people don't know how to package or price their services. And so that's going to be a big thing that we'll talk about. And then we'll actually talk about how to find clients. We'll talk about manual prospecting, and then we'll talk about something that I've recently been excited about and sharing a lot of content on, which is sales automation. So get settled in. I wanted to do this training, rather not want to say quickly, but efficiently, so that we can have some chance, some time for a Q&A at the end. But if you guys have any questions, make sure you guys throw those in the chat so I can answer them as we cover it. And I don't know if you guys can hear the ABC song in the background, but my wife is playing the ABC song. So if it's too loud, let me know. Figure it out. All right. What did I want to do? Oh yeah, I wanted to show you. So there's just one thing that I wanted to do. So let me hop over here, and I wanted to show you this, right? So this is like, I think the real reason why I sell bots, right? Is like, that's my wife and beautiful wife and my son Cashton, who is now 5 months old. And I'm getting tongue-tied here because I have so much to share about why I'm grateful for chatbots, but I think that they are the number one reason, right? And the fact that there was times when I didn't know if I was going to be able to succeed in the online space and the online world, and it was actually chatbots that was my saving grace. There was times where I say my wife and I, where I got a notice on our door for rent saying, like, you got to make I think, like, I don't know, it was a couple $1,000 in 3 days, or you need to get, or you need to leave. And thankfully I had chatbots, and thankfully I had, I was able to sell chatbots and, have that as a service in my back pocket that allowed me to, I don't know, do all that stuff, right? Now it's awesome that my wife can, stay home and raise our baby, and we live in a, we actually not only paid rent, but we've actually moved up and upgraded, and we live in a much nicer space where we have a pool and a jacuzzi and a much nicer area. And so all that stuff to say, like, this is kind of the why behind it. So in case some of you guys are like, who the hell is this guy? This is your first training, so that'd be helpful. All right, let's get right into it. Let's get on with the show. I said that I would be creating highlights in here, but I just recorded it, so that's fine. One fell swoop. Let's talk about secret number one, which is, what do you actually sell, right? Because let me know in the chat, like, give me a why if you guys, like, have already figured out what your offer is, and you already know what your bot's going to include, and you already know, like, all the different features. Or give me an N if, or like a not yet, if you haven't figured it out yet, right? Because it's really the first thing to figure out is, what are you actually going to include in here? And before we even get into this, I will talk about a little bit about niche, right? And I mentioned that my very first bot was for a fitness client. And what I really, really loved about digital marketing when I got into it was the fact that it could help and it could impact so many different types of industries and so many different people. And so when my friend actually came to me and he said, hey, I'm launching a gym, I'm actually starting a brand new gym, and I need your help. I'd love your help with marketing. Can you, do you think that you can help? And I'm like, wow, it's a gym, how hard can it be? And so little did I know, though, that, building a landing page, building a high converting, ad, and all that stuff is very, very challenging. And so the reason I say that is that I was kind of dumb and just kind of got into chatbots by just kind of luck. But after working in so many different niches, what I've realized is that chatbots really are good and can work for every single type of business. I've yet to find an industry that chatbots can't actually be applied to. And so what I would encourage you to do is to pick a niche, right? And to focus on something that you have experience in, or something like that you've had a job in, or that you can kind of speak the lingo in, or something that you're passionate about and that you would really be dedicated to, spending the time to create something that really is effective. And if you can decide out of those, well, all of a sudden you can say, all right, well, what do those things actually need, right? So I'm going to get some ideas here, right? And we can kind of talk about what are the different, ways in which a bot could actually work for a variety of different industries. But I'd love to know if any of you guys have thought about industries that, that it could work for, right? Or what you would be thinking about getting into. You can share it, and we can talk about, some of the features and the functions that it could really work for. Now, here's, what I ended up doing in kind of my journey was I had a little bit of an interest, and I had a ton of people in my network that were in the real estate space. And so I actually had my old music teacher, right, who she was my 5th grade music teacher. She messaged me one day and she said, "Hey, I'm becoming a real estate agent. Do you think that you can help me out with my marketing and stuff?" And I was like, wow, I think so, right? So I just said yes, and we got started talking, and she was like, well, I'd really like to try this kind of chatbot thing, right? I'd really like to figure out, how we can implement this, because real estate was a space that has already caught on to the word chatbots, and they kind of already understand what they are. And so we started having this conversation, and I started to ask her, what does she do on a daily basis, right? Like, what are the things that she's spending most of her time doing? And what happened was, what occurred to me is that most of the day she was spending her time calling all of her leads, trying to find the people that were interested. She would spend hours and hours every single day calling through all of these leads, emailing all of these people who don't actually see her emails, calling these people who don't actually answer, texting these people who weren't actually interested, to try and find some sort of way, to get on the phone call with them, to be able to get, on an appointment with them, to go see a house, do something with them that, the real estate agents do. So as I started to ask, what she did, I started to realize that this qualification process was taking up so much of her time, and was also something that real estate agents, A, spend a lot of time doing, or B, really don't like doing because it takes a lot of time. I started to think about what were the ways that a chatbot could actually replace that person, or that kind of response. And so, a lot of real estate agents, they're big on email marketing, right? And so they know how to run, a lot of them are able to run Facebook ads, or even a lot of them do, kind of a lot of in-person marketing, but they do a really good job of getting email addresses, right? And the problem is that nobody actually sees those emails that they send. And so for me, I was like, all right, I've got to figure out a way that they can actually subscribe to the chatbot, right? That was thing number one, was like, we got to find ways for people to get in. And so obviously Facebook ads became a big thing for it. But then the nice thing about chatbots is that you can actually have people subscribe via links. You can have people subscribe via scan codes. You can have people subscribe by directly messaging them. You can have people subscribe by commenting on a post. So I started to identify all of these different ways that we could incorporate that into what the real estate agent was already doing. So we could put scan codes on their open house, pamphlets. We could put, we could send the links in emails that they were already sending. We could put a live chat, button on their website. These were all ways that we can actually get more people subscribed into our chatbot. Now, the difference with a chatbot, though, and what I really love, is that not only can you subscribe to the chatbot, but then it's also this tool that you can interact with, that you can engage with, and that it interacts and engages with you in real time. The thing with emails is if someone responds to an email, well, it takes a while for someone to get back to them. They don't always check their email. It's just not a real-time experience. But we all know that the beautiful thing about websites is that they are this real-time experience where people are able to go and get information. They're able to, access stuff on their own time. Well, a chatbot is like this combination of a website and an actual person, because it kind of replicates this messaging, format, or this conversation format. So it delivers info to people at a steady rate that they can handle without being this kind of, 10-page email that they send to somebody about, all the stuff that they offer. So it's very consumable. But then it also becomes, this way that you can follow up with people, right? So now not only are they able to subscribe, they're able to engage with it, right? Where if you know that a lot of websites have their about us or their products or their menu, or there's different information that a business would want to have, that a customer might be interested in. Well, now you can actually embed that into a conversational agent, right? Into a chatbot, so that can actually look like a conversation. And you can actually, instead of having one salesperson, you can have 1,000, 10,000, 25,000 customer support or salespeople all paying personal attention to that person, to that user's conversation. And maybe even the best thing about it is that there's a follow-up process. I mean, there's a built-in follow-up in there as well. And so what happens with a lot of businesses is they collect email addresses, but then they got to put them into a CRM, and then they got to get them into another, autoresponder, and then they got to create all these things. And it's like this, it's very, very disconnected. It's very clunky. Whereas a bot, right, what it really allows you to do is it allows you to follow up with those people who come in. And so now back to this real estate agent, what we were able to do is we were able to have people subscribe via Facebook ad, right? They were able to come in, search for homes, and view homes for sale right there in the chatbot. And then we were able to follow up and ask them questions afterwards about when they were actually moving. And so we were able to identify the people who were high quality prospects and actually worth spending more time with. And so instead of our agents spending hours following up with every single lead, they were actually able to identify the ones who were prime prospects, right? And so what we tried to do is we tried to take those same three things, right? Those same three things, which is subscription, right? Getting people into it, right? What I call like the furniture of your chatbot, right? Getting them to engage and have some sort of value add right there within the chatbot, and then to have some sort of follow-up process. If you can build those into your bot, that's going to be really effective. And the thing is that the way that you subscribe people might be different. Depending on your niche or industry, right? You might have more people comment on a growth tool, or you might have people comment more on a URL, or you might have people join from a scan code. What I love about chatbots is that there's not just one way for someone to subscribe, but you can create lots of, and a variety of ways for people to actually get it. So that is what you should include in every single bot, right? And then you just modify it depending on your niche. So I'll give you one little hack here, okay? Here's a little hack I'll give you, which is what I call the just website hacking for an industry, right? Like if I were to go on and I were to look at, let's take a look at dentist. I'm just gonna type dentist, right? It's a dentist. So we got Dentist of Torrance up here, right? So if I click Dentist of Torrance, this is someone who's spending money on ads, right? Sorry, I just took their ad, they just paid for a click. But notice here, they've got a services tab, they've got an about tab, they've got a way for people to join or to buy, they've got a photo gallery, and a way for people to contact them. So if I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna start building bots for dentists, this is probably the basic stuff that I wanna have on my chatbot. I wanna have a way for them to be able to find out about all the services that we offer, right? But here's the extra added benefit, Mr. Business Owner, is that when they click on this stuff, we can track which one they're interested in. I'm gonna have a way for them to find out about the business. They probably have some sort of like scheduling or like some sort of form here, right? So I'm gonna have a way for them to submit their name, their email, their phone number, for them to even schedule a time, right? All of these things, I'm just gonna transfer into my bot. And if I do that, it makes it so much easier for me to actually try and figure out what should I actually build into the bot. You don't need anything different, right? You just want to make sure that you are providing it in the